Hello students, you're welcome to LODLC lecture series. This is for SAT315 Nigerian Economy, and this video is for study session 7, Concept of Economic Development. I am sure you've heard about economic development and you've heard about economic growth. Some use it interchangeably and some believe that they mean the same thing. However, they are different, and at the end of this study session, you should be able to distinguish between economic growth and economic development. At the end of this study session, you should be able to do the following. 1. Explain the concept of economic growth as well as its objectives. 2. Measure economic development. 3. Distinguish between economic growth and economic development. While the fourth one is explain the concept of growth without development. Economic development. Economic development in traditional terms can be seen to mean achieving sustainable rates of growth of income per capita to enable a nation expand its outputs at a rate faster than the growth rate of the population. Jiang in 2007 defined development as economic growth plus change. In his words, he's saying that economic development encompasses growth and change. Friedman, in Assing, in 1970 defined economic development as an innovative process leading to structural transformation of the social system. In this definition, you should see that innovation and transformation of the social system are the key points. And this means that development is about growth and change. Broadly in 2009, they defined economic development as a situation whereby members of the society jointly increase their capacity for dealing with their environment. The objectives of development. Economic development means growth plus desirable social and institutional changes. Development in all societies must have at least the following three objectives. 1. To increase the availability and widen the distribution of basic life-sustaining goods, such as goods, shelter, and protection. 2. To raise the standard of living. And 3. To expand the range of economic and social choices available to individuals and nations. Let's start from the first one. To increase the availability and widen the distribution of basic life-sustaining goods such as food, shelter, and protection. Every man deserves the basic life amenities, which are good food, shelter, and protection. Thus, before we can say the economy is developing, we must be able to say that the provision of good food, shelter, and protection is being made available to more people in the economy. Another one is to raise the standard of living. By raising the standard of living, that means that every man in the economy, every person in the economy must be able to afford these basic social amenities. And once they can do that, they can raise their standard of living. And once this is done, then we can say the economy is developing. The third one is to expand the range of available economic and social choices available to people. More choices means a betterment of the condition of people, because when you have more choices, you can actually make choice that best suits you and that would even save you money. However, if you are restricted and you don't have choice, then you are meant to stick with what you have. Thus, in this way, when we have more choices available to people, then we can say that the economy is developing. The criteria for development. Based on the objective of development, the following can be said to be the criteria for development. The first one is 1. Development must be people-oriented, which means that there cannot be development if people are not benefiting from it. When people are benefiting from it, then we can say there is development. So development must be people-oriented. The second one is development is a long-term process. By this, it means that development is not something that will take place in a day. It will take place over a long period of time. Thus, it is a long-term process. The third one is development creates the capacity for people to become self-reliant. People become self-reliant. When people are not self-reliant, that means they answer to a boss, and that boss is taking them as a slave. But when they are self-reliant and they can actually decide when to eat and when to sleep, then there is development. Then the fourth one, and which is the last one, is development must not be abstract. It should be observable and measurable. Development is a thing that we must see, and it should be measurable. When we it is measurable, you know we said that development is a long-term process. If it is not measurable, we will not know where we are in the process. However, since it is measurable, we can know where we were, where we are, and where we are going. Measurement of economic development. There are different measures of economic development. All of them have different shortcomings. Whichever method one wants to use, whether a country is developing or not, care must be taken to minimize the shortcomings as much as possible. The following method can be used in calculating or in measuring the development of a country or an economy. The gross national product and the gross national product per capita approach. The second one is the welfare, and the third one is the social indicator. The GNP at times the income approach because it measures productivity and income of people over a period of time. The GNP approaches measures of real national income over a period of time. It considers that the changes in the country's total output of final products and services in real terms. It believes that when people are making more money, when they produce more, then the economy is developing. However, it fails to take into account that there might be an increase in production in the economy, whereas people might still be lacking the basic amenities. And this is one of the major shortcomings of GNP or GNP per capita. However, in the welfare, economic development is viewed as a process whereby there is an increase in the consumption of goods and services of individuals, mainly as a result of the increase in income. This says that when we have more money, we consume more. And GNP is only interested in what people are consuming in the society or in the economy, which means it's looking at it from the consumer's point of view. However, people might actually be consuming, and it might not be spread across everybody. It might just be the rich are the ones that are actually consuming, which they are consuming what the poor is consuming. So that is its own major shortcoming. The third one is the social indicator. Social indicators are usually referred to as the basic need for development, and this basic need focus on alleviation of poverty by providing the basic human necessities. However, economists don't agree on the same thing. Some actually believe that the basic needs are this, while some actually believe the basic needs are that. Thus, there's no compromise on what the basic needs are and what should be used to measure social indicator. Thus, the economists and UN prefer using GNP and GNP per capita as their approach to measure economic development. Now, distinction between economic growth and economic development. One, definition of economic growth. Economic growth is sustained increase in aggregate output or supply of goods and services in a country. That is it. And economic development. Economic development is economic growth accompanied by desirable social and institutional changes. The effects. Economic growth only brings about quantitative increase in the economy, whereas economic development brings about the quantitative and the qualitative changes in the economy and society. The concepts. Economic growth has a narrow concept because it is only an increase in size, whereas economic development has a broader concept because it is an increase in size coupled with other increase in other things, which is in other things. And economic growth is measured using the increase in GDP, that's the gross domestic product per capita, while economic development is actually measured using Human Development Index. Concept of growth without development. Well, there can be growth without development. And one of the ways is population growth and distribution. There might be an increase in population, and the distribution might be lopsided. Whereas we have some places that is densely populated, where there are some places that is sparsely populated. You see a lot of people being in the village, and only few people in rich cities, which can only be inhabited by rich people. Another one is environmental degradation. Environmental degradation is used in economic growth. When we actually have a large expanse of land that has no use, then, or maybe it has been spoiled, then that's economic growth. Sectorial imbalance in development. When we mean sectorial imbalance in development, that is development of some particular sector and neglect of another sector. That is economic growth, because economic development actually involves the more growth of all sectors at the same time, not a sectoral imbalance. Then another one is moral decadence and religious fanaticism. Moral decadence is there's a decay in moral, and now there will be religious intoleration. People cannot stand themselves, they see themselves as enemy. And the fifth one is income inequalities. People don't have the same income. There are some people that will be very rich that can actually afford everything, while some cannot even afford the basic life amenities. This shows that there is growth without development. Thank you very much for listening.